Okay, try to remember what we did yesterday, right? I asked you to open up a new part and create a sketch inside of it. We didn't care which plane that we used, all right? So in order to do that, right, new part. Again, in Inventor, there's always several different ways, but that's the one that I prefer. Opens up a part, and then we do start 2D sketch. All right, and then I like the front view. That's the one I normally pick unless my object wants me to do a different one. Okay, what's up?
It's not letting me open.
Okay, so today is all going to be all about trying to learn how to do sketches really well, right? So if you have a good foundation in creating sketches, because sketches are the driver for everything, right, of all the features that come after it, right? Being good at sketches is super, super handy if you want to CAD very well. All right, what was the one thing that when we started drawing sketches that we needed to try to do each and every time? Right, where do I need to attach it? Yeah, the origin, right? So we want to try to remember to always attach what we're going to draw to the origin. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, right? So let's make some lines and then we'll kind of talk through everything, right? So let's do the rectangle to begin with, right? So we're going to do the rectangle. Right, and then we're gonna go up here and then wait for it to turn green to indicate, hey, yes, I am on that center point, right? And so I'm going to drop it down, and then notice what happens, right? See highlighted in blue, and it says 0.6, right? And then we have 0.3 on the other way. I can totally drop that down if I don't know what size it's going to be, and then work from there, right? So then I could set how tall does it need to be, how wide it needs to be, by using dimensions, okay? So we want to use constraints, and we're going to talk about these today, constraints to our geometry, all right, and dimensions, right? That's why they're all in this little tab section here, in order to fully constrain our whatever we're sketching, okay? In this case, we're going to use dimension, right, to say how wide this is and how tall this is, okay? So dimension, if we click it, right, the way that works is I can click a line, right, and now it's going to give me a dimension, and then it wants me to set where that dimension is, right? And usually your dimension should be up out of your box, whatever you're trying to draw, and it should be centered. Like, don't do dimensions like that. Go ahead and center the dimension, and then the next thing it does, right, it's going to say, hey, what size do you want it to be? Let's say 1 inch.
I think that's bigger than 1 inch.
Okay, so we have it 1 inch wide. Now we need to do how tall. Now I just clicked the line that time. The other thing you can do is you can say, hey, you can pick two things, right? So I can say, hey, what's the dimension from this line, which is that bottom line, up to this line, right? And as long as they are parallel, they never touch, right, you will get a dimension and not an angle, right? And so I'm going to click those two lines and then go over, right? And then I'm going to say this is going to be 1/2 inch tall. Right, and then what I'm aiming for, right? Notice that everything is turned black, right? Notice down here it says fully constrained, right? There is now no point on this item that I can grab and have it move around. Since I've tied it to the 0 and I've said, hey, it's 1 inch by 1/2 inch, it can't be any other shape than this. Okay. Now, that reminds me of something else, right? Let's hit finish, right? And we're gonna be done with that sketch, okay? Now, do we know that this is 1 inch by 1/2 inch? Right? I mean, this is America. We like our freedom units, right? But could this be 1 millimeter and 1/2 millimeter? It could be, right? It could totally be 1 centimeter and half a centimeter, right? So we don't know what the units are. Units are important. We default, since we're working, we're in the United States and we're working with freedom units, we default to inches, right? But if we ever need to change that, we can go up here to tools, right? And you can just watch, you don't have to follow along. And then we can do document settings, right? And then we can go into units and we can see that, hey, yes, my units are inches. All right, and so just know that it defaults to inches. If you want something else, you're going to have to change it, and you just click down. You can say, hey, I need it to be feet or centimeters or millimeters or meters or microns if you're working with really, really small stuff. Okay, but now I've got a sketch, right? I'm going to go back to 3D model, and I'm going to extrude it. Okay, when you go to extrude, right, if you've only got a sketch there, and that sketch has an inside and an outside, meaning this is a closed shape, right? There's no opening in it. So this box has an inside, this box has an outside, right? If I start going in, right, and I start adding circles to this, right? One circle, I still have an inside, right? But if I start doing something like this, is this inside or is this outside, right? Well, it's not outside, it's inside, but what's this, right? Because it's outside the circle, but inside the box, right? So it starts getting confused. So there are occasions, right, and I'll show you, right? When you hit extrude, there are occasions where it doesn't want to automatically extrude it. And what it wants you to do is it wants you to pick what you want to extrude. So if you pick it, all right, it's going to say. So if you ever, let me go back here, edit my sketch. I'm going to delete these. Right? But if you have a fully enclosed object with an inside and outside and you hit extrude, right, it's going to find the sketch, right, and extrude it automatically for you. What I showed you before is if it never automatically extrudes, it's waiting for you to pick what to extrude because it can't figure it out. All right? Also what pops up, it's on my other screen, right? You get this little dialog box and how far do you want to go, right? Pay attention to the directions. If you want to go the opposite direction, you can set that up. It's also handy to do it symmetric, right? I'm going to do it right in the middle and I'm going to go ½ an inch either way, right? Total distance is 1 inch. I'm going to go ½ an inch either way. I'm going to say for giggles, I'm going to make this a 1/4 inch. All right, so make yours a 1/4 inch, hit OK. All right, super simple. You made your first solid. Right, and the reason we want to make this is we want to talk about how to maneuver in Inventor, right? So if you press down your middle mouse button, right, it will do what's called pan, right, which will allow you to move it side to side and back and forth, right? And that's press and hold the middle mouse button. Right? If you scroll the middle mouse button, it is going to zoom. Right? So you can kind of combine those two. Okay? Now, of particular note, it is going to zoom to wherever the cursor is. So if I click on that corner, or not even click, just have the mouse near that corner, it is going to zoom wherever your cursor is. So sometimes that's handy when you're trying to get to a particular feature. Like I want to see that corner. There we go. Okay. So middle mouse button, move it around. All right. Now take the mouse button and either zoom all the way in or zoom all the way out so you can't see it no more. There are times where you're going to totally lose your part. All right. The home key is the easiest way to find it if you can find it on your screen. The other thing you can do, because this is Inventor, there's always like 3 ways to do the same thing. See this little home right there? On the view cube, see that little home? You can click that and it will do it too. Okay. The other thing that I haven't showed you, right, is if you hold down the shift key and middle mouse button, right, you are going to pivot, right? And if you don't select anything, it's going to pivot around the center of the object. Sometimes that makes it hard. Most of the time that works out well. If you pre-select, I'm going to pre-select that corner and then middle mouse, and hold the shift key, right? You want to press the shift key first and then hit the middle mouse, right? Then it's going to pivot around the part that I selected. All right, so then you can combine those three to get everything that you want to do. All right, and this goes back to yesterday when I say I want my left hand on the mouse, my right hand on the mouse, and my left hand is doing modifier keys. This is where I'm doing a modifier key. I'm going to do shift in order to switch between panning, right, and pivoting. Okay. This being Inventor, there are multiple ways to do everything we just did, right? If I go up here and I grab this view cube, right, so follow this along, just click on the view cube and drag around, click and hold, right? It will totally drag around. I normally grab this when I'm helping you, because then I don't have to move you out of the way to get to see what I'm trying to do, okay? You can also see where it says front, click front, and it will take you directly onto into the front view. Right? See the little arrows? If you click that little arrow there, it's going to take you to the left side view. And so you can click that. You can even click the corners, right, or align, and it will align it based upon that view. Right? But if you ever get lost, hit the home thing, same thing. Right? Now, it's cut off on my screen over here, but you can see it on the video or on your screen. There's a little, well, actually, I could probably bring it over. Nope, can't move it. Right? You can totally click, so if you look, there's the circle, the very first one, there's a circle, looks like that, right? You can totally bring that out and do different things with it. So I'm on orbit, I'm on pan, when I click, it's gonna do the same thing. So you can do that, and then you can close it up. I'm not a big fan of that one. If you go down underneath it, you see the little hand. Hand is pan. So that's going to move it side to side, back and forth, right? All right, underneath that, if you hit the little magnifying glass, if you've lost it, that is also the home key, so it will help you find it, right? It's got a little arrow underneath it, so you can actually go and zoom, but it's easier to zoom with the mouse, right? And then underneath it, it looks kind of like a little atom with the electron shell around it, right? But if you click that, it brings up that, and then you can drag around and basically pivot, rotate through that, right? You can get crazy with it if you want. And then I don't ever really use the look at too much. You can learn how to do that. All right, so that's 3 different ways to do the same thing. I prefer the mouse, middle mouse, pan, zoom in and out with the middle mouse, and then shift middle mouse, because it keeps my hands, I don't have to move and click anything. It's a lot quicker. Okay, but you do whatever works for you. All right, notice we made that one extrusion. So we did one extrude, right? Notice it's over in my feature tree. Right? If I go and make another one, that's what we're going to do, right? I'm going to click on this face, and I'm going to say make a sketch on this face. Now I can click this face and say start 2D sketch. Works great. I like the shortcut of clicking that face, and then this little shortcut bar shows up, and this last one here is create sketch. Right? And if you click that, boom, now I'm on that face and I'm making a sketch. All right, so let's poke a couple of holes in here. Let's do a couple of circles just for giggles. Notice, all right, so look at my screen for a second. I drew the first hole, right? Notice, right, when I go to do the second hole, I'm getting this little line popping up. What is that line, do we think, what might we think that line is? Yeah, it's where it shows where it's even at. Where it's even at. That's a great way to put it, right? So we have, Inventor tries to be helpful, right? And so it's going to say, like, hey, I wonder if he wants the centers of the circles to be on the same line. okay, to be at the same level. So if I click, when that projected line is there, when that is highlighted, what it's going to do, and then notice, right? Notice that it snaps when I'm making the size of the circle. It tries to snap to the exact same size. It says, hey, I bet he wants to make those circles the same, okay? And so basically I've got them on the same line and they are the same size, and it's trying to be helpful, right? I'm gonna hit escape, right? So I'm no longer drawing, right, the circles. You can also right click and say, okay, right, I'm done. Right, either one of those works. I like the escape key because my hand's already there, probably to do the shift thing. Right, and so now, right, be aware that there's no, like you can place it there, but there's no constraint there, right? It tried to make them identical, and it did make it identical, but notice there's no constraint there, okay? So drop in your 2 circles, or in the case of one of us, like 15 circles, right? But, all right, so drop in 2 circles, and then we're going to work on getting them sized the way we want to size them. All right, everybody got the 2 circles? All right, so let's work on making them the same size, all right? Let's give it a dimension. All right, let's say this is, somebody tell me a size.
0.6.
0.6, that's going to be huge. My box is only 1/2 inch tall. Let's go smaller. 0.25, 1/4 inch, I like it. Okay, notice it's moving around. Why is it doing that? Right, have we located it in space? Can I move it around? Is it locked in space? No, right? Every circle, right, you're going to have to define in 3 directions, right? You're going to have to do the size, and then what's its X, and then what's its Y, because we have to lock it down in space, right? So how far up do we want to do the circle? Let's say 1/4 inch, because I'm pretty sure it's 1/2 inch tall. Right, now, circle's still not black. What do we need to do? What dimension? Nobody's answering because they're trying to get their circle. I will pause for a second. All right, so you can take a shortcut to hit D on your keyboard, and then we'll say, hey, from here to here, we want it to be, let's say 0.252. Why change? Okay, so now those are totally, right, that's totally locked in. Notice how it turned black? Right. Okay, so now we want this other one to be very similar to that. Okay, and this is where we start getting into constraints. All right, so we're going to add, so we've been doing constraints. Dimensions are a constraint, right? But now we're going to add some geometric constraints. Right, and they are your friend. They are lovely, right? And we're gonna practice these after this, but I want to punch a couple of holes in here, right? I'm going to do this, right? I want to make a line that runs from this circle. So you can hit L, you can click up here. I want to drop it between here and here, right? And then when I'm done, I can right click and say okay, or I can hit the escape key. I like the escape key. Right, now, I don't want this line to be used for the object, so I want to turn it into a construction line because I'm using it to construct what I want to do, right? So I can right click, right, and I'm going to say construction. Do you see it right there? So right click construction, and it turns into this dotted line. And that just keeps the computer from getting confused as to are you going to use it for an extrude or not. So I can do it again, just right click on the line, hit construction. Right, and it's a toggle. If you do it twice, you're going to undo it. Yes.
On the back there at the top.
Your right click doesn't pop up?
No, she right clicked it and hers and Brandon doesn't.
Well, we can look at it if you want to bring it back here. The alternative you can do is you can click the line and then hit this button right here. Did you get it? Okay, sweet. Yeah, if you right click and you haven't selected anything, it doesn't work. Right? This doesn't work. Right? If you haven't right clicked anything, right? So you got to click it or left click. You have to select it, right click, construction. Right? Okay, so geometric constraints. Right? I really want this, right? These two to be even. So I'm going to pick the line. And then I'm going to say, hey, I really want this to be horizontal. I'm going to undo, and I'll do that again. So pick the line, and then say horizontal. Okay, and then the next thing we can do, right? And here's the thing: if you've like added something, or you've tied it accidentally to something, like we can work on figuring out what that is. But I mean, as long as you know that this is possible, this is kind of what I want you to do. The other thing is I want this 0.25 diameter to be this to be the same size. So I want these two to be the same size, right? So I'm going to hit escape to get out of the command, right? And then I'm going to say, hey, right? I want to make equal, and that's what this is. And if you ever forget what these are, right? You probably have come across these in geometry, because don't you use the parallel and the perpendicular indicators in geometry? Yeah, right? So here's the equal one, but you can hover over it if you need to see it, right? So hover, right, if you want to read more about it, but hit equal, right, and then you can just pick the two circles, and now it's going to make the two circles equal to one another. Right, and then hit escape to stop doing that. Here's the question: why is this blue and not black? It's not fixed. So which way can it move? If I pick the center point, what do I need to assign? Yeah, so you pick something. I don't care what you pick. It can be the same or it can be different. But you can pick the line and the circle, and you can do how far that is, or you can do the line, oops, got dimension, line and the center point. You normally dimension to the center points. You don't have to, right? But normally that's the best way to do it. I'm going to say this is 0.25, right? You can totally do it that way. But let me start that back up. So we need to talk about this thing called design intent, okay? So as you're making, in this case, this is a Lego brick, right? One of your design intents may be that these two circles are always the same size. Because if we're doing a Lego brick, right? Are they always the same size? Do we have Legos that have different size holes? No, right? So in that case, we always want these to be the same size. So that's why if I go here and I change it, and by the way, if you want to change this, just double click it, right? And then you can say 0.375, right? And then both of them are going to change it. By the way, I'm deliberately trying to make it more like a Lego brick now. Right? So you can go back and change that. And my design intent is I want these to be the same, so I added the equals constraint, right? And so now those are forever the same. Is it conceivable if I'm doing a Lego brick that I want these two numbers to always be the same offset? Right? Do you ever see a Lego brick where these are not on, like, you know, do you ever see a Lego brick that's like that? No, right? So, right, so I want these two numbers to always be the same. So what I can do, right, double click it. All right, the neat thing is Inventor will allow you to do formulas, right? And so you can say equals, right? So double click the thing. I'm going to start over. I feel like people got lost, right? Double click it to edit the dimension. Hit equals, and then say, hey, that's equal to this, right? And so it makes a function. So click that 0.25, right? So it's going to say it's equal to D6 because it's the 6th dimension we put in there. You don't have to know that. It just does it automatically. And then when you hit enter, right, it's going to say this is a function, it's being driven, and that is 0.25, okay? And then if you go change it, you know what? I need that to be 0.2, right? Now it just automatically updates. And it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, this is some advanced stuff that you don't necessarily need to know, but when you need it to work the way you want it to work for your design intent, it's kind of handy. All right, and then once you get the function done, hit finish, and then we're going to turn this into a Lego brick. So let's hit finish, right? And then we're going to go to extrude. Now on this extrude, nothing automatically extrudes, right? And the reason is it's waiting for us to say, what do we want to extrude? So I've got this closed area and I got this closed area. They kind of highlight and shade, right? I really want both of them, right? And so I can click those two and kind of turn it into my Lego brick, okay? If we wanted to make it a cut through, right, down over here in my extrude menu box, here where it says Boolean, right, because you're going to do a Boolean operation, you're either going to add or subtract, you know, join or cut, right? If you hit cut, right, now that's going to cut, right? And then you can say, how much do you want to cut? Well, I really only want to do 0.125, right? So I'm not cutting all the way through. Or you can say, and this one's really helpful, right? You can say cut through it all, right, with that command, and then I'm cutting through everything, right? And then the reason that's important, right, if I say right now, you know what, do a 1/4 inch, and then I go back and make this 1/2 inch, if my design intent is for it to cut all the way through, that 1/4 inch is going to fail because now it doesn't go all the way through, right? But if I tell it through all, when it updates, right, it's going to always be through it all, right? But we're making a Lego brick, so we're going to go that. Ugh. I broke it. Ugh. It's because Mr. Pigeon is here. Ugh. When in doubt, restart. Extrude, extrude that, extrude that. Oh, it's because I made it too big. 0.25. There's our Lego brick. All right, so everybody probably has the Lego brick because we walked through it together. Now I'm going to give you a chance. Hey guys, focus with me for a little bit. I'm going to give you a very simple, yet maybe a little involved, and I'm going to try to stretch your brain. So I did a search for isometric drawing exercises, right? Let's do one that's super simple. We think we can do this one? I think we can do this one. This may be too advanced, but let's give it a shot. All right. Now, right, when we see these big numbers, right, we think that's probably not in freedom units. It's going to be in metric units. So this is probably millimeters, if I had to be my guess, because that being 50 inches doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, so see if you remember how to do millimeters. All right, for the record, it's tools, document settings, units, change to millimeters. Tools, document settings. And then if you want to save your first part ever before you close it, you totally can. You can go File, Save. That's cool, right? Or if you haven't saved yet, you can just hit this little disk icon, right? And since you haven't saved it, I'm gonna call it the basic Lego, because why not? Right, hit save. And then now, right, once you have it, given it a name, right, I see basic Lego, right, you can hit this little save icon or Control S, right, and it will save it automatically for you, right, or quickly for you. That way you can shut it, you can close that, and then go ahead, I'll leave this up in the time that we got left, all right? See if you can make that part.